All right, let's just talk about the DBQ real quick. The big things that changed in the DBQ for the rubric this year. Again, I like the way I teach, the way I've always taught it. If you just do it, you'll get all 7 points. They've actually made the rubric easier for what it's worth to get higher points. But we haven't had an actual AP graded DBQ. So even though they've made it easier to get 7 out of 7 points, I'm not gonna leave it until I see it. They might be grading other things harder. So no change to thesis, no change to context. The big changes come in evidence. Instead of 6 documents, they've dropped it down to 4 to support an argument. So you have to use 4 documents. You still need outside evidence to get that point. They've dropped the HIP analysis down to 2 instead of 3 to get that point. But what they've done is if you use 7 documents to support an argument, or this should be or explain the HIP in 4 documents, you get the 7th point. The way I teach you is to do that anyways, minus the HIP. But I teach you always to use all 7 documents because you just have a stronger argument. But for those that might not be as fast a writer or get it right away, it gives you an out that you can do 4 and 2 and still get a majority of the points. If you want a 5, you really got to knock this one out of the park. This is 25% of your score. You want to get a 6 or a 7 potentially on this. Definitely above a 5 out of 7 points, but 6 or 7. Okay, any questions on the rubric at this point? Does that make sense? Cool. All right. So AP Euro and AP World. The AP Euro World, I'll just completely transparent. There has not been a DBQ of recently from College Board on the Columbian Exchange. So this one's actually a little bit, it's not exactly like College Board, but it does evaluate effects about the Columbian Exchange. So I'm probably going to model Euro tonight since I modeled World last time. Just FYI, we did the Portuguese trade last time, but I know you guys just talked about the Columbian Exchange. So that's the DBQ for that. To what extent did the Columbian Exchange affect the interaction between Europeans and natives and among indigenous people in North America? Again, not a College Board question, but a question-ish or College Board light. You're still evaluating what extent the Columbian Exchange. So again, whenever you get a to what extent question, it is like how much did it affect, right? Or how much did the interaction affect? The interaction between Europeans and natives, right, affect them. Something like that. That's the how much. But we're going to look at Euro tonight since we have, at least in this first hour. And then, of course, we can come back. So basically follow along. So you're going to analyze the documents. AP Euros evaluate whether Romanticism maintained a connection to the Enlightenment or challenged the Enlightenment. So you can do, it's not a to what extent question, so it's an evaluation. So it's how much was it this way or this way, basically. So did it maintain a connection to the Enlightenment or did it challenge the Enlightenment? We do have sample responses listed for this one because this was a released FRQ. So if you're okay to follow along, we'll rock and roll with this. So this is 2023, last year's DBQ. And again, the whole step 1 is we are going to be in our blue books and we are going to write down this table. So if this was the real thing, and if I could find my pen, so what I would want you to do on a scrap piece of paper, if you don't want to type, if you want to actually practice what it looks like on the exam, when you get the exam, you're going to want to write down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least nicely spaced out, and then put OE. I don't have my document cam set up, but if you could see doing that, right? because right now I'm going to list all those out, and then I'm going to say, how does this answer the question? And then POV, purpose. So kind of like that a little bit, and then I'm going to start grouping. So in terms of what I'm recreating, very, very rudimentary. This is obviously more standard, but that's what I would look like. So if we go to the source, and again, I won't do all 7 documents. I'll bounce back and forth between Euro and World, but just follow along and type what I type and ask questions as they come up, or volunteer some responses too. So evaluate whether romanticism maintain a connection to enlightenment or challenge enlightenment. I'm looking through the lens of, it's really easy. We already have our categories if you really want to make it simple. But you can add some complexity to it too. So this is by William Wordsworth, British romantic poet and essayist. The tables turned. Up, my friend, up, my friend, and quit your books. Oh, surely you grow double. Up, my friend, and clear your looks. Why all this toil and trouble? Books, 'tis a dull and endless strife. Come hear the woodland linnet type of songbird. How sweet his music on my life. There more of wisdom in it. One impulse from Venero's springtime wood may teach you more of man, of moral evil and of good, than all the sages can. Sweet is the lore with nature brings our meddling in intellect, misshapes the beatitos forms of things we murder to dissect. Enough of science of art to close up these barren leaves. Page of old books, come forth and bring with your heart that watch and receives. Gosh, I love poetry. So, but you basically know what this poem is saying in the first 4 sentences. What is it saying about books? What what teaches you more, books or nature?
Nature.
Yeah. So nature teaches you more about books, or more about humanity than books.
You want everyone to type this, or just the people in Euro?
Just Euro. I mean, if you want to, like, we'll go back and forth between this and world. All right. So what's the purpose, point of view, situation? I like point of view here because obviously he is a poet, talks about nature and beauty. All right. And that argues it's more of truth. And then category, well, this is definitely, so if we took the question, from here, so this is a romantic poet. Maintain a connection to enlightenment or challenge? Would this be a connection or challenge?
Challenge.
Yeah. See how easy it is? Okay, cool. All right. Pause there for a second. Let's do world down here. So all you gotta do is make a copy of it. So let's look at world real quick. So world, the Columbian Exchange. The question is, to what extent did the Columbian Exchange affect interaction between Europeans and natives and among indigenous people in North America? Okay. Document 1. The arrival of Europeans. In order to win the friendship and affection of that people, and because I was convinced that their conversion to our holy faith would be promoted through love than force, I presented some of them with red caps and some strings of glass beads, which they placed around their necks, and with other trifles of insignificant worth that delighted them, and by which we have gotten wonderful hold of their affections. Saturday, October 13th, 1492, at daybreak, great multitudes of men came to the shore, all young, of fine shapes, very handsome, their hair not curled, but straight and coarse like horsehair, and with foreheads and heads much broader than any people I've seen. They came loaded with balls of cotton, parrots, javelins, and other things too numerous to mention these, that exchange, for whatever reason, we chose to give them. Christopher Columbus, edited by Bartholomew de las Casas. So the arrival of Europeans, what is this talking about? What are they trying to do? What is Columbus trying to do here?
Win over their affection with material.
Good. World question down here. And affection and conversion over with goods. This is from the POV of Columbus. Tried to impress natives with foreign goods. But they also showcased their goods. We don't know a category yet because we have to write all those documents. So let's go back to the European. Number 2, Novellus, a pen name for George Philip Frederick, German aristocrat, scientist, and philosopher. Excerpts from notes of Romantic Encyclopedia. How few people have a genius for experimenting. The true experimenter must have a feeling for nature within himself, which, depending on the perfection of his faculties, guides him with unfailing surety along his path, allowing him to discover and determine with much greater precision the hidden and decisive phenomenon. Nature inspires the true lover, as it were, and reveals herself, nature, as the more completely through the experimenter. The more his constitution is in harmony with nature. Thus the true lover of nature distinguishes himself by his skill in multiplying and simplifying, combining and analyzing, romanticizing and popularizing the experiments, by which his ability in inventing new experiments, by his tasteful and ingenious selection and arrangement of nature, his acuteness and clarity of observation, and by his artistic and concise as well as extensive descriptions or presentations of his observations. Thus the genius alone is in the experimenter. The poet understands nature better than does the scientific mind. What's he arguing for? Any of my Euro students want to gander? That's like complicated. But just looking at that, is he advocating for one over the other or a combination? Sure. I like that. What do you think, Rihanna? Rihanna, you there? Hello. No one? Okay. Anyone have any thoughts?
Wait, uh, can you repeat the question? I'm in a car, so it's like kind of hard to hear.
Sorry, Gabriel. Okay, so thank you. So is this um second document where this aristocrat, scientist, and philosopher is he advocating for science or nature over each other or in combination of it?
Both, a combination, it looks like.
Yeah, right?
Can I ask a question about content? What exactly is romanticism?
So it was a time period in European history shortly after the Enlightenment where it was like, anyone else want to answer it? Enhanced exaggeration. Um, so during the 1800s, so like one of the images of the time period after the French, it was like two real famous images that you might have seen during Romanticism. Obviously, this did not happen, right? But it's like romanticizing glory. So we have that in American history too. I don't know if you ever been there, but George Washington did not do this like this. But it was romanticized, right? Exaggerated and shown in rare form in our art. But that's kind of like what the sense of the era is. So when we see this, it's a lot of being in connection with nature and how are you writing on that? How are you doing that? Rihanna, are you there? Do you guys see that? How's she doing that?
You,
Sorry, I have no idea. Like my phone is acting up. I was trying to respond and it wouldn't let me in.
You're
I don't know
taking
what's.
you're taking over, man.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm like, where is this coming from? I don't know. I've never seen that before. I don't know. Anyway, okay, yeah. So I can do that too, I guess, right? I think I can. So Rihanna, what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was trying to say that like romanticism is kind of like the Renaissance because of the spread of the art and literature. I'll
Yeah.
just point clear.
So in this case, is that person's arguing for a combo, trying to understand the world, right? Um, so I guess in terms of point of view or purpose, I like purpose. He's an intellectual and wishes to justify its value. I guess that's would this challenge or maintain a connection?
maintain a connection.
All right. So world Climate Exchange Document 2, the impact of disease. Population, 25.3 million, 16.8 million, 6.3 million, 1 million. And then we see, looks like smallpox. So what's this document conveying here?
How disease negatively impacted the Native Americans?
What kind of diseases?
Smallpox and I think malaria? No, I'm thinking of something else.
The decreased population. So this could be this could be situation showing the spread of diseases. Affecting the native population. There we go. All right, back to Euro. Boom. Document 3, Taylor Coleridge, a British romantic poet. I wonder what he's going to say, right? The more I understand of Sir Isaac Newton's works, the more boldly I dare utter to my own mind, and therefore for you, and that I believe the souls of 500 Sir Isaac Newtons would go to the making up of Shakespeare or Milton, famous British poet. But if please the Almighty to grant me health, hope, and a steady mind before my 30th year, I will thoroughly understand the whole of Newton's works, and present I must content myself with endeavoring to make myself entire master of his easier work than on optics. I am exceeding delight with the beauty and neatness of his experiments and with the accuracy of immediate deductions from them, but the opinions founded on these deductions, and indeed his whole theory, is, I am persuaded, so exceedingly superficial as to be deemed false. Newton was a mere materialist. The mind in his system is always passive, a lazy onlooker of the external world. All right. This guy is not really a fan of Newton, is he? He is expressing how Shakespeare is greater than Newton, right? And obviously Newton was pretty popular this time. So Newton, you could say situation. Newton popular. A poet is saying Shakespeare is more important. Challenged or connection? This one's definitely challenged, right? Okay. So AP World folks, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to finish this one for Euro. I'm going to let you work on it on your own. So keep working through these documents. They're linked on the main document. So read documents 3 through 7 on your own. You only have 2 more to read, excuse me. You only have 2 more to read, and then you have 3 to interpret. But I'm going to do AP Euro fully for this time around. Okay, so document 4, AP Euro. Document 4, Mary Shelley, British romantic writer, Frankenstein or the modern Prometheus novel. Dr. Victor Frankenstein, the fictitious narrator of the novel, recalling his education. When I was 13 years of age, I chanced to find the works of ancient and medieval alchemists. Cornelius Agrippa, Paracelsus, and Albertus Magnus. I read and studied the wild fancies of these writers with delight. They appeared to me treasures known to few besides myself. In spite of the intense labor and wonderful discoveries of modern scientists, their studies always left me discontented and unsatisfied. Sir Isaac Newton is said to have avowed that he felt like a child picking up shells beside the greater and unexplored ocean of truth. Those of his successors in each branch of natural philosophy with whom I was acquainted appeared even to my boy's apprehension and novice engaged in the same pursuit. The untaught peasant beheld the elements around him and was acquainted with their practical uses. The most learned philosopher knows little more. He has partially unveiled the face of nature, but her immortal foundations are still a wonder and a mystery. The scientist might dissect, atomize, and give names, but not speak of a final cause. But regardless, the alchemists, I thought, here were men who had penetrated deeper and knew more. I took their world for what they had asserted, and became their disciple. Huh. Well, Frankenstein is a fictitious scientist, and he does express some limitations of science. So he is expressing the limitations of science in understanding the aspects of nature. So another guy emphasizing spiritual qualities of nature. This one would challenge. We get so far? Document 5, Percy Bysshe Shelley, a British romantic poet, a defense of poetry. Poetry is indeed something divine. It is once the center and circumference of knowledge, as it is to which comprehends all science, and to which all science must be referred. It is at the same time the root and blossom of all the systems of thought. It is from which all spring, and which adorns all. And that which wilted denies the fruit and seed, and withholds from barren world the nourishment and the succession of branches of the tree of life. Poetry is not like reasoning, a power to be exerted according to the determination of will. A man cannot say, I will compose poetry. The greatest poet can even not say it. The mind in the act of creation is as fading ember. which some invisible influencers like inconsistent wind awakens to transitionary brightness. Their power arises from within, like the color of a flower which fades and changes as it developed, and the conscious portions of our natures either its cannot predict either its approaches or its departure. Document 5. So the poetry comes without purpose. It's natural. But this poet's also interested in science. And so the poet, interested in science, sees poetry or poetic knowledge as essential for understanding the world. Document 6. Oh, this would be connection. Here we have Piago Palagi, Italian Romantic artist, and Isaac Newton's discovery of refraction of light. Newton's seat on the right is watching a child blow soap bubbles. So what is this? It's Isaac Newton observing light discovery from a child blowing a bubble. And so even though this is Sir Isaac Newton's a scientist, right? This is a romantic painting. He's not really there's no experiment going on here. He's inspired by sight. So purpose is to show Newton inspired by sight. And that means it was a connection. Document 7. Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, German romantic author, letter written to the Chancellor of the German state of Weimar, 1828. I continued to apply myself to the study of nature's versatility in the plant kingdom, and while visiting southern Italy in 1787, I succeeded in grasping the growth and development of plants both perceptually and conceptually. Growth and development in the animal kingdom is closely related. I pursued the formation of theory of animal structures with more vigor, dictated my schematic outline to a colleague in 1795 in the university town Jena, and soon had the pleasure of seeing other German researchers continue my work in the area. If we recall the sublime way in which all natural phenomena have been linked, bit by bit, in human thought, and if we were to take a second look at my early work as a point of departure, we cannot but smile and take pleasure in my 50 years of progress. Document 7 writes about his own personal scientific investigations. He's promoting scientific research by showcasing his accomplishments. This would be maybe a challenge. There's no romanticism in here. Okay, any outside evidence that we could think of? Anyone in Euro have any outside evidence that could maybe show one thing over the other that we might be able to use? Anybody? What about I would say what could we use? We use any scientists at the time that observed anything? I'm gonna say Galileo.
We haven't gotten to this for my like Euro class.
Oh, you haven't gone into romanticism yet?
No, we haven't.
Where are you at right now, Gabriel?
We we're doing like absolutism, I think.
Absolutism? Okay, so you're almost
Yeah.
Yeah,
there.
the revolution. Yeah, we're in the scientific revolution right now.
Well, so you have a little bit of this.
Yeah, because I remember Galileo, Aristotle, Plato,
Okay.
Socrates. Yeah.
Yeah. So um so I am just, we're a little ahead with you guys, but here's the thing with the DBQ, you don't necessarily need to know the content. You will, the context might suffer, but I'm just showing you how to structure an argument if you had this, okay? Let me see how the world people are doing. How are my world people doing right now?
I'm almost done with the last document.
Okay. What do you mind sharing your link real quick in the
Sure.
chat? Throw in the chat whatever you get, James. So the Euro one actually breaks down a little bit easier than what world we're gonna have to brainstorm world because we don't know how we're going to group the documents, right? Thank you, Taylor. All right, so walk us through what you saw here. What's document 4 talk about?
So we stopped at document 3, right?
Yeah.
So basically, I saw that the third document was talking about how the exchange of crops and livestock, like horses and cows and pigs, how much it was affecting not only the Americas but the entire world. How it was just very helpful for like foods with lots of carbs in it were helping in helping productivity. And I basically took from that the life expectancy rate went up because people were being able to be more have more nutrition.
Okay.
And then for the fourth one, that the encomienda system was set up originally by the royals, saying you need to convert them to be Christian, but they shouldn't be slaves, that they should just work peacefully for you because you are like better than them, but you shouldn't harm them. And so the point of view was the king and queen of Spain attempting to set up a social order without actually being in South America.
Right.
And then the document 5 was just a picture of one of the wars between the conquistadors and the Native Americans, influenced by technology that the Spaniards had that Native Americans didn't, like guns and gunpowder. The sixth one was, let me look at it. Oh, it was basically showing like a missionary and how like manufactured items were being brought into the Americas in order to enhance, I guess, way of life was what I took from it. So the purpose was to show the changes European goods had on the American cultures. And then I haven't quite finished document 7 yet.
Okay, no worries. That's good. Okay. So what do we do now? So this one, Euro, is a little bit easier because it already aligns to it. So that's step 1. So again, we took about 25 minutes. Again, we were bouncing back and forth, but you're gonna have to do this with a lot more speed, right? So we have like 20 minutes to kind of write the essay, but we already have most of it written. We just have to outline it. So, Rihanna or Gabriel, like, what do you think? Do you think the romanticism maintain a connection to the Enlightenment or challenge the Enlightenment more?
Mm,
Uh,
Either you can
I'd
answer.
say challenge, kind of, because it was kind of like a mix in between observations and a little bit of disagreement.
Okay. Gabriel?
I would say challenge.
So we're going with
Challenge.
challenge, right? Okay. So how will we start our thesis? Despite?
Uh, is it despite um yeah, despite the connections
Between science
between
and nature,
yeah,
right?
because that's the connection is the nuance, right?
Yeah. So despite the connection between science and nature, romanticism challenged, challenging challenge the connection. Now do we have any ways to group them categorically how they challenged it? So there's two ways you can go here. Well, there's many ways you can go here. Your first um your first paragraph could be about how there was a connection, and the second paragraph be about how the challenge was more. Or you could say, despite the connection between science and nature, romanticism challenged the connection to the Enlightenment by doing this and by doing that. Now, if we're not there yet, challenge the connection to the Enlightenment, period. We can just do split thesis and use this part for our second paragraph. That way we know we're going to use those documents. Are you guys with me?
Yeah. Wait, could you also start with like
Yeah. How would you start? How would you write with
although the connection between uh
Good.
uh science and nature.
Yep.
Wait, all no, although there is a connection between science and nature,
Yep.
romanticism challenged uh the connection to the
Do we
enlightenment.
use connection again?
Uh no, wait. Uh challenge the similarities? Wait, no.
Um,
Like
challenge the ideals,
the
ideas,
ideals.
or ideas of the,
Enlightenment.
yeah, that could work as well.
Uh
So the first part, we could say despite the connection, we can write it. Um, let me see here. You could go the other way too, right? Through a mutual appreciation for so although there are connections between science and nature, it's a challenging ideas of yeah. So how would we write this, right? So the only thing I would do to make it stronger is add a reason for each of these, so our sentence can be stronger, Gabriel, if we go a little bit. So although there is a connection between science and nature, um, with romanticism, um, sorry, science and nature. No, I like that. Romanticism challenged the ideals of the Enlightenment in regards to devaluing logic. That's what they were doing, right? Remember how they were saying they weren't the same. So although there was a connection between, and maybe I would say, although romanticism established a connection between science and nature through mutual appreciation, and mostly challenged the ideas of the Enlightenment in regard to mostly challenged the ideals of the Enlightenment by devaluing logic and knowledge. Boom. You see how we work through the thesis?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah, that makes sense.
I know you're not there yet, but like that's a better way to kind of like elaborate on them, because you want to like at least establish analytical categories. So now body paragraph 1, we could talk about romanticism established a connection between science and nature through mutual appreciation. Period. First sentence, done. What documents deal with the mutual appreciation? Well, the ones that have the connection. So we have document 2, we have document 5, we have document 7, no, 6. Okay, so far so good. Questions yet?
What do we use the HIPAA for?
You
Because we're
need to
not
you need to put it with it. I just didn't bring it down yet.
okay.
So like romanticism established a connection between science and nature through mutual appreciation. What is document 2? So document, I'm going to go back to the documents real quick here. It's document 2. Into a scientist and philosopher emphasizes a combination around them. So what did document 2 showcase? The purpose of this document. All right. So here's how you do it. Here. Electrical. Value of nature through so that's how you do it, right? And then document 5, another romantic poet defends poetry. 5, stating that poetry purpose. 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 So comes with purpose, and then document 7 shows Newton observing the refraction of light by the surrounding document 7 shows Newton observing the refraction of light by implying he got the idea from a child blowing a bubble. The purpose of this painting had a connection with nature, his scientific observations. So you would just kind of go back and forth with that, right? You're just adding your argument here. You want to draw this out a little bit more and then connect it and then go to paragraph 2, which is romanticism challenged okay? And then we bring those documents down and do on and so forth and so forth. World people, where are we at with this? Taylor, Kaya, Ani,
Yeah,
where are we at?
I've not been doing that.
Why?
I didn't realize we were supposed to.
What do you mean?
I didn't realize we were also
Oh,
writing.
that's okay. But do you get how it's supposed to go?
Yeah.
So the point of doing this, because we're almost out of time here and we're going to switch over to US, the point of doing this is the thing I want you to practice in your DBQs and understand is you got to take time to plan. Once you take time to plan it out, the writing part should come pretty easy as long as we can craft a thesis. When we craft a thesis, we want to group these documents up and think about how do these have categories. So for the Euro one, it was fairly easy because they already kind of give us our categories, although like we're working from Gabriel's thing here, we do want to expand beyond just that because this is actually a really strong thesis. And then as long as we have outlined correctly, we bring those documents down here and we add in our little argument of what's going on, and that becomes our body paragraph essay. So all in all, you have the tools to do it. You just have to basically put it all together. See you later, Gabriel.
Thank you, bye.
Yeah, see ya. Questions on this so far? Does that make sense? Anyone want feedback on what they got? Any world people read a thesis yet?
Well, I kind of have a question. How do we categorize our document?
Well, let me see yours. Do you have yours up here?
Yeah.
So, what's the question? Interaction between. So, to what extent did the Columbian Exchange affect the interaction between Europeans? So, how did the Columbian Exchange affect interaction? So, category 1, Columbian Exchange was used as impression, trying to create a trying to showcase.
Yeah.
Goods, showcase of goods.
Mm-hmm. So are we looking for like whether it was a negative or positive interaction, or?
Right. Well, we're not even saying that right now. We're just saying what affect the interaction. So let's do showcase of goods. Put that down.
In the category?
Yeah. Document 2.
Mm-hmm. Wait, isn't this exactly what the other two are though? Because isn't it just restating what we already stated?
I know, but we're just trying to. We're just trying to group right now. This
Okay.
is what brought disease.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then
Exchange of life or exchange of food.
yeah, brought yeah, exchange of food.
So the implementation of a social system.
Okay. Brought higher social hierarchy.
Introduction of weapons or advanced weapons, advanced technology.
Yeah. Well, brought war, I think, too.
This is the same one basically. I guess, but like it focused more on the Christianity, like introducing Christianity.
Yeah. So yeah, it's probably gonna be positive, negative, but
Of these are positive, except 2 and 5. Well, I guess 4 too.
okay. And then how would you group that? Although the common exchange, the interaction between, although common exchange brought some negatively impacted Native Americans overall, it positively, right? You could say that, something like that.
Well, are we trying to compare it with how it affected the world or just how it affected America? Because it says between European and Native Americans.
Yeah. So we're saying, yeah, and that could be a nuance too, that it benefited Europeans more than it benefited the natives, right?
Yeah.
That would work.
So although the Columbian Exchange brought negatively impacted the Native Americans, it it also brought positive things as well, mostly to the Europeans.
Yeah, potentially. Positive. Yeah. Yeah. So we can refine that a little bit. So I am going to jump off here and do US. So if you want to finish writing this, or if you want to look at an older DBQ together, book a coaching call. The rubric's out of 7 points. If you get a 7 out of 7, you get about 35 to 36 composite points, which is like the equivalent of getting 35 questions right on your multiple choice. So it really stacks up and helps you if you can do it. The changes from this past year, what they revised the rubric, nothing changed thesis wise, nothing changed context wise. The evidence dropped to get 2 points. The evidence dropped from 6 to 4, so you only need 4 pieces of evidence to get those points. So provide 4 documents, use 4 documents. You still need to provide outside evidence, and then this went from 3 to 2 documents here.
Yeah.
So you do have to explain HIP in 2 of the documents. However, the way I teach it, I always say use 7 documents, and use 4 HIPs. And so doing so will actually get you the 7th point, or so they say. So that's the way I teach. When we look at the question, evaluate the extent to which the commercial, and I'll put this in the chat too if you want to follow. So evaluate the extent to which commercial development changed the United States society. To which commercial development changed United States society from 1800 to 1855? So what commercial development changed the U.S. and how much? So we're gonna break down these documents right now. So
I can't.
you're
Not when you open up the chat.
got it?
Yeah, it's not letting me open up the other one. It's saying copy of this.
Try that.
Take that.
Up on the chat.
Because it opens up my I think my computer's like home thing is Bing. So it always opens up there. Okay, now I'm good.
Okay.
Alright, sweet.
Got it?
Mhm.
Okay. So this is a report from the Association of Churches in Connecticut, 1812. General Association of Connecticut, take into consideration the undue consumption of outer spirits in the state, have considered it as their duty to submit the following recommendations. To farmers, mechanics, and manufacturers, we recommend earnest and prudent exertion to diminish the quality of ardent spirits consumed in their several employments by the situation of the palatable and nutritious drinks, and by giving additional compensation, if necessary, to laborers who will dispense entirely with the use of ardent spirits. Let the attention of public then be called upon to the subject. The world and the providence of God afford the most consoling prospect of success. Okay, what's that saying? Well, this document is from the Association of Churches in Connecticut. It is basically arguing that manual laborers should avoid the consumption of alcohol.
Okay. Pause.
Or point of view, right? It's church organization.
Actually, I think that I might have done one of these now that you say that now that we're starting to do it.
Okay.
I think I've done one movie before.
Document 2. There's a picture advertisement of Machette's Baltimore Directory, Maryland, for the sale of steam engines depicting one of the first railroad locomotives made in the U.S.
Oh, it's talking about how the railroads. So for these, are you supposed to like bring some outside knowledge in? Like all that shows is a railroad. So it's like, could I say like the steam, like the railroads are like helped connect the provided better transportation for the.
Yeah, you can bring that into the outside evidence. So right now, we're just breaking down. So my method is to step one, basically on your
Oh, so we're not explaining any of it. Yeah, we're just literally writing down
yeah,
what it.
we're just outlining, like I write down 1 through 7 and we outline the documents, and basically we're saying, what does the document show? This document shows in terms of how it answers the question is important. Once we
Yeah.
get this, we're going to be able to write it, right? So the purpose of this document is to show off new tech inventions. Okay, document 3. Plantation, Alabama, letter to brother in Washington, D.C. I wish you may visit me early in the spring to make some arrangements about your Negroes. If they continue high in price, I would advise you to sell them in this country of Alabama. The present high price of Negroes cannot continue long, and if you will make me a partner in the sale on reasonable terms, I will bring them out of this farm from Virginia and sell them for you. My object is to make a fortune here as soon as possible by industry and economy, and then return to Virginia to enjoy myself. Therefore, I am willing to aid you in any way as far as reason will permit. Plantation owner, Alabama. Plantation owner, Alabama, writing to letter to his brother in Washington, D.C. Depicts the author's involvement in slave trade. Purpose of this document to show the profit one can make by the slave trade, right?
Mm-hmm.
See how I'm doing this?
Yeah.
Document 4. Elias Nason, college student in Rhode Island, studying to become a minister. Letter to his parents. I would not put any of your children into the mill. Factories are talked about in schools as a vice in circles here. And it's a hard thing for small children to be confined in a tight closed room all day long. It affects their growth, makes them pale and sickly. The company with they associate is the lowest order. There is no establishment in this country conducted better than that in Unionville. It is a factory still, and nothing has ever touched my pride so much as to have it said that my sister's works in cotton mill. I pity from my soul the thousands in our country that are reduced to necessity of laboring in factory for a livelihood. But it is as much as some of the different employments as conductive to goodness, to improvements more than others. It becomes us to choose those which are most favorable to virtue and intelligence. Now a cotton factory is the last place to which I should put children for improvement, either in manners, goodness, or intelligence. This document is saying, right, stating that,
Trying to show the evils of the factory days.
yeah, let children into a factory. Um, children in mills advocates against it. Document 5. Wilson, Joseph Wilson, African American writer, sketches the higher class of colored society of Philadelphia. Among the higher classes of free African Americans, there is no want of knowledge of a good thing in this life or the ability to arrange the means at their disposal as to make them productive of the most substantial good. Their parlors are carpeted and furnished with sofas, sideboards, cards, tables, mirrors, with in as many instances the addition of the piano. They fail not to gratify themselves in the way, to the extent, and the manner that gains observance among other people. The observance of abstinence from drinking alcohol at the parties of higher classes of other society is a worthy of remark, whether this arises from pure love of temperance or disposition to avoid unnecessary expenditure, either of which is commendable. I shall not pause to inquire. The exceedingly illiberal, unjust, and oppressive prejudice of great mass of white community is enough to crush any people. But in the face of all this, they not only bear the burden successfully, but present a state of society of which none have just cause to be ashamed. What's this talking about?
Mm, mm,
It says that upper class African Americans, right?
yeah.
And then document 6, a second peep of factory life. A magazine featuring writing by factory workers. You ask, if there are so many things objectionable why we work in the mill? Well, simply for this reason: every situation in life has its trials which may be borne, and factory life has no more than any other. There are many things we do not like, but there is a brighter side to this picture. The time we do have is on our own. The money we earn comes promptly, more so than any other situation, and our work, though laborious, is same from day to day. We know what it is, and we have finished. We feel perfectly free till it's time to commence it again. Besides this, there are many pleasant associations connected with factory life that are not to be found elsewhere. There are lectures, evening schools, and libraries to which may have access. The one thing they needful here is the time to improve them out. So, this is a factory worker argues what?
That there are some positives to tries to show the positive side of factories, argues that there is a positive side to them. Yeah.
Document 7, free versus slave labor. North Star. Surely the time is not far distant when the free working men of North will bestir themselves in behalf of their enslaved fellow citizens. If working man were aware that every time he goes to ballot box he gives his vote to favor of a slaveholder, or one who yields subserviency to the slave power, he helps to perpetuate and deepen his own degradation. He would long ere before this had served himself from all connection with the wicked compact which binds him to use all this energies in assisting the slaveholder to suppress any attempt that might be made by his victims to regain their God-given right to liberty and self-possession. Slavery degrades labor. Degraded labor, and you lower its remuneration and wages in any portion of the country, reduce the labor to the condition of a slave, and his free fellow citizens who are laborers must descend and descend till their slaves are all of name. It's basically talking about the North working class argues that the Northern working is doing what?
Is slowly becoming slaves.
Well, that they're supporting slavery,
Oh, okay.
is voting for voting pro-slavery politicians.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
Cancel. All right. Outside evidence. Um, what other things you say you want to bring in here? So really quick though, change United States society. So we have like temperance.
Yeah.
We
Uh,
have
transportation.
transportation. We have slavery.
That's slavery.
We have child labor. We have temperance. We have factory system. Slavery. Right? Anything else you want to use there?
For outside evidence,
Mm-hmm.
I would say I would say I would talk about like the invention of canals and turnpikes that also helped with transportation.
Yeah, you remember what that was called?
The specific canal, Erie Canal, and then Cumberland Road.
Cool. All right. Hmm. How can we? How did the commercial development change United States society?
It shifted it from more of an agrarian society to more of an industrial one.
Which commercial development changed U.S. society? Yes, it did. More industrial one, but do we want to talk about any of these documents here in terms of grouping them?
In terms, for industrial, I would talk about probably 4 and 6, probably.
Well, we gotta try to brainstorm a thesis here, right?
Oh, okay.
So when we bring our question down here,
Yeah. Around the question.
evaluate the extent to which commercial development changed the United States society. So,
Hmm.
despite the new
Technology, technological advancements.
yeah, industry, investments with um, extended slavery and the negative of the factory system on society.
Yeah.
You see how I'm getting that?
Huh?
You
That
see
makes sense. Because then you can talk about the documents of the slavery ones and the factory system ones and still like working into your thesis and included a little bit of the question in it too.
so you could say the commercial development right, new technology advancements. United States. You could talk about document 2.
Ooh, yeah.
You can bring brought down there. You can talk about your outside evidence.
Yeah, bringing outside evidence.
You might have to talk a little bit more. You might have to say this one, document 6, of how it's positive.
Yeah, as I can. Is there a complexity point for the DBQ? Because I can make that my counter argument.
Yeah, there is a complexity point, but if you use all 7 documents, you get that too.
Okay.
And then you can bring down documents 1
Yep.
here, another temperance one right here.
Yeah.
And then 3. You can do document 4. I mean, this is a lot here. Doc 4. And you could talk about doc. I'm lost right now. There, where is it? There we go. Doc 7, working class. Okay. So I'm gonna write the second paragraph here real quick. Right. So the commercial development of the United States expanded slavery and the negative impacts of the factory system on society between 18 and 1855.
Yeah.
Alcohol, factory workers consuming
Alcohol.
became a problem that was quickly recognized in society.
It slowed down efficiency of workers and provided safety threats. I mean.
Yeah, it was a major safety for workers consuming before working before their the factory. Local church organizations began advocating temperance.
Mm.
Document 1. Argues that manual laborers should avoid the consumption of alcohol.
Yeah.
Period. Furthermore, African Americans were also urged to
Should we like specify that it was like the higher class ones or none?
yeah, more African Americans were also urged to abstain from alcohol consumption. Document 5. Oh, we didn't put hip analysis in document 1. This was from their perspective, from their point of view,
Yeah.
the consumption poses a serious risk to families. Furthermore, upper class African Americans were also urged to abstain from alcohol consumption in document 5. Factory life was indeed dangerous as people some done before the author clearly states that parents should not let their children into a
Work in a
factory.
factory.
Yeah. There's factory because of these dangers. Right?
Yeah. Agree.
From his point of view, he saw the dangers and okay. And then the and so then we just make like other arguments. So from this point of view, you saw a dangerous book, I guess. So additionally, commercial expansion production of cotton in the textile industry. Many abolitionists argue see? And you can keep making an argument from there, right?
Yeah.
That's
It doesn't seem that like I understand how it's getting like all of the where it's all coming from, I guess.
yeah. So you see how it's kind of all coming together.
Yeah.
So that's basically it. And then you just write it.
Yeah, because then at this point, because once you have all your evidence and you have your outline, I guess it just becomes plugging it in. So
Yeah, that just becomes second. Like, so if you take your time to build the argument here or build your evidence and analysis
yeah,
here, then it just becomes kind of naturally from there.
right, exactly. All right.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean that's what I have. If you want to type it out, write it out for practice, and you can either email me, drop it me in Slack, or we can grab a one-on-one and go over it. We definitely.
Yeah. Hmm.
All right.
Yeah, sounds good.
Any questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, Joe.